We all have questions that we find hard to answer. And with me, the one that stands out the most is, where are you from? Typically, in a normal conversation, this would only stand for about 2 sentences. You just say where you're from. But with me, I don't know really how to answer it because I'm a third culture kid. I don't know if I should say I'm Filipino. When I go visit the mainland, I don't know if I should say I'm from Hawaii. And I don't know if I should say that I am from India because I was born and raised there. When I think about this, I think about how all of us have unique stories. Maybe some of them are more unique than others. Some of them are more exciting, some of them aren't. But we all have stories. And a lot of times we overlook other people's stories. When I was 6 years old, I remember sitting in the back seat of my dad's car while he tried to maneuver through heavy traffic in Delhi. It was a typical day. It was hot, horns were going off, which is ironic because there are street signs everywhere that say no horn blowing. The traffic stopped for quite a while, and 6-year-old me decided that the best way to entertain myself was to look out the window. I noticed a little boy about my age. Nothing was particularly special about him. He was probably he was probably one of those millions or maybe billions, millions of street kids that struggle for life daily in India. He was shoddily dressed, he had messy hair, and in his right arm a stack of newspapers. He would go from car to car, knocking on each window and motion to the newspapers. He knocked on my window, and I gave him a confused look because what 6-year-old boy wants a newspaper? And then he left, but I still watched him. And then, out of the blue, an older boy, around 16 or 17, came out of nowhere and eyed that kid. And he too had a stack of newspapers, and he was just an older version, another homeless kid. He decided to pinch the younger kid in the neck. I sat in my seat watching this ordeal unfold in front of me with fear for me, because part of me wanted to fling open the car door and run and attack the older kid. Not your typical random act of kindness. But I didn't. I just sat and I watched, and eventually the traffic started to move. I could see the pain in the kid's face. He couldn't do anything. He was just writhing on the ground, struggling. The traffic started to move, and the distance between me and the boys grew larger and larger until it was insignificant. And I went home feeling this heavy burden of guilt on my shoulders. I told myself, John, you need to start caring more. Even though you couldn't have done anything, you just need to start caring. Over the years following, my dad would teach me. He told me, John, you have to be generous to everybody that you encounter. The thing that he would do that I found unique was that when someone begged from him, he would ask them, how much do you want? And I think if I were to put myself in someone who's begging in a beggar's shoes, that would be a quite odd question. You probably wouldn't know how to answer that. You'd probably ask for a small amount, and that is what I did. They asked for small amounts. But my dad would give any amount that he had on him. And I asked him, like, what's up with that? What's your deal with beggars? And he told me, John, somebody who's begging, no doubt, is so desperate enough to put themselves at that level, below someone else, to ask them to provide for them in some small way. And that just reinforced what I told myself, you need to start caring. So I did. The following years, I would try my best to do anything that I could, whether it be giving money. There was a language barrier. I couldn't talk to them, any of them. But I would try to do my best with anything. And then all of it went down the drain in one incident that I faced when I was about 10 years old. I was in the car again, in the passenger seat. We were parked. I don't remember exactly what was going on, but we were parked, and I noticed there was an older woman who was obviously also homeless, and she was collecting plastic bottles from the sidewalk to recycle and hopefully get some money to get food or something. And my dad noticed her too. He shoved a 20 rupee bill in my hand and said, John, go out and give that money to that lady. And I didn't. I just sat there. I stared at my dad, I stared at the lady, and then I just blankly stared in front of me, and I just sat there. He didn't say anything for a while. The old lady turned a corner, and she was gone. And I could feel the guilt, all the guilt from years ago, falling on my shoulders again. I looked at my dad, and he was staring at me, and I looked away, and he said, "John, imagine if that was your own grandmother." And that just multiplied the guilt even more. So I re-promised myself. I told myself, "John, you need to start caring." This homelessness and this whole socioeconomic thing, it's everywhere. But in India, the reason why it's so prominent is because of this caste system. Here in Hawaii, there isn't a caste system per se, but there is one, and it's very implicit. Nobody says anything like, "Oh, you're in this caste," or "the business people are in this caste," whatever. That's not how it is, but it's there. Nobody really talks about it. And it's just systems. Why is it there? I'm not trying to change it. I don't see how it can be changed. But a question that I asked is, how come we all have this image in our heads, we're all familiar with that one person on the side of the street with a sign asking for money, but how come only maybe 1 out of 20 people give money? How come it's not 1 out of 10, or maybe even 1 out of 5? Like, why? Why does that one person have reason to give, and why do the 19 others don't? But then I realized that's a really hard question to answer. Maybe it's very subjective. Maybe the person who's giving money understands what it's like. Maybe not. I don't know. But the answer, for me, goes back to the first question that I asked. I don't know how to answer this question. Home is where your heart is, so I don't really know where that is. But I realized that it's not relevant. It doesn't matter where I'm from. What matters is what I've seen and what I've learned. And what I learned is that I need to care more. And I want you to walk away from this, not having it in your head to maybe give money to your favorite charity or give money to someone on the street. I just want you to care, because that's where change starts. It starts with caring. People who have the ability to take action should have the responsibility to take action. But that's not true. That's not what's going on anyways. But it all starts when you start caring. Thank you.